I recently switched from an Xbox Elite controller over to a Turtle Beach Stealth Ultra, and boys, it has made a huge difference. I'm going to talk about everything in this video, why I switched, why I like it, what controllers I used to be on. At the end of the video, I'm even going to show you the settings that I use in game that help me use this controller better. As always, there'll be a link down in the description if you want it, and I appreciate you and enjoy the video. Boys, this is a video I did not expect to be making right now. Very honestly, very odd for me to be on a new controller. I've been on an Xbox controller literally, I mean, as long as I can remember, from the original Xbox to the 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and then when I moved over to PC, that's pretty much, I mean, that is all I've ever used. I have owned PlayStations in the past and used them, but there was always just something about the controller. I think it was just too small for me. I got big old man hands, and so the Xbox controller really just felt better. Ever since I've been playing bikes, I've been on an Xbox Elite controller. I had the original Elite, that broke, and then I moved to a Series or Elite V2, you know, the core one. It was the white one, and then I bought another one, a red one, just as a backup. But basically, I have almost 5,000 hours in MX bikes, and every single hour of that has been on an Xbox controller, and I never really had any issues with it. There were times, I guess, where I felt like the controller was still a little small, to be honest, but I had no plans on changing. You know, I mean, I had wanted to try out a PlayStation 5 controller, but I had never really had the opportunity to get my hands on one, and I play paddle, so I was gonna pick up a regular PS5 controller, but I didn't want to because it didn't have paddles, and then their version of the Elite or whatever was super expensive, and I was just like, it doesn't really matter. And I was gonna buy a Scuff at one point, I don't remember what it was, the Vantage or whatever, the PlayStation 5 one, but it was really expensive, and so I just decided to stick with my Elites. Well, I went on my trip over to the West Coast to California to go to A1 and San Francisco Supercross, and along the way I met up with one of my friends, and he had the controller that I'm now using, which is the Turtle Beach Stealth Ultra, and he actually gave it to me as like a, hey, like, I bought this because I thought it was cool and I really don't like it, so, you know, here you go. If you like it, if not, then, you know, keep it or whatever, just put it on display, because it's a very cool looking controller. You know, I'll show some pictures of it here in a minute, but really he just kind of gave it to me as a, you know, if you want it, cool, if not, then do what you will with it, I don't want it anymore. So, you know, I figured, you know what, it's an Xbox controller, how different could it be? And boys, I don't know, he still thinks it's terrible controller, but I have fallen in love with this thing, and it has definitely, absolutely made me more consistent and smoother on the game. Now, a lot of that has to do with comfort. I think this controller is actually a lot more comfortable than an Xbox controller. It is basically an Xbox controller, but it is actually a little bit bigger. At least it feels like it. You know, the sticks are a little bit more spaced apart, which for me and my gigantic man hands helps a lot. Now, it is a little bit different if you're playing on an Elite. The paddles are actually buttons, and so you have to hold the controller a little bit different than you would on Elite. I mean, at least I do. And so that took a little bit of getting used to. But really, where this controller really shines is in it has a display on the controller. Now, the display does all kinds of cool things. It's got RGB, you can link it to your phone and blah, blah, blah. But that's not what I'm interested in. There is a setting in the controller where you can change basically the linearity or the curve of the response of the joysticks. Now, if you have an Elite or a fancy controller, it has that option as well. I tried it on my Elite. It just never felt right. But there's a setting on this controller that is called precision or precise or something. And I'm telling you, there is something with that setting that it basically takes all the smoothing that you would in MX bikes. You know, when you're adjusting your lean settings, your direct lean and all that stuff, there's also a button that says smooth. Well, the controller basically does that for you, which allows me to not run smooth, which makes it a lot more, like the bike, a lot more, almost, I don't want to say twitchy, but it's a lot more responsive to your small inputs, which for me helps just be really, really precise. I feel like in ruts, I am able to track ruts so much better than I was before. On the San Francisco Supercross track, that the aerial one, there's that inside rut right on, well, I guess it's right after the finish. And I cannot tell you how many people I pull on or catch in that one rut, being able to just, I feel like I'm able to just perfectly like round the rut on the throttle, and it's really awesome. And I'll show you some of my settings here in a minute. Actually, let's just do that right now. I'll show you some settings that I'm doing with this controller. So I do run 100 direct lean now. And then as you can see, I'm running 194% linearity, 94. I don't know. I've literally just been tweaking it a little bit here and there, but this is the big one. No smooth at all. And then 100 gain. I feel like I'm able to run a bit higher gain on this controller because the left stick itself is so smooth. Now, it's really hard to explain, and I guess you just have to do the old trust me bro thing, but I really, really feel like this controller has helped me be, you know, more precise, more just consistent in my steering. There's not as much like, you know, I tuck one corner, you know, and then the next lap I'm, you know, not making it. I feel like I'm just a lot more consistent. It also has that like hollow stick thing where there should be no stick drift at any point, which if you're on Xbox controllers, you guys know that that is a major issue. And like, again, this is not sponsored or anything, so there's no hashtag ad. This is me really just sharing with you that like, man, like this controller is really, really good and I really like it. It does have a bunch of cool features, RGB, and like you can link your phone to it where like every time you get a text, it'll vibrate and like display on the screen, which is cool, but also like, I don't know, I get a lot of notifications between Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, like everything I'm posting on, my phone's like constantly blowing up. And so it was almost annoying for me, where it was just like constantly vibrating. So I don't have it on, but it is a cool feature, you know, that way you don't miss a phone call or whatever if you're playing. But really, I don't know, like, I don't know that I would go out and just drop, I think they're $200. Like, if you already have an Elite, like, I don't know that I would say it's worth the $200 change to go, you know, just go pick that up because it's awesome. You know, it's that much better. You're going to drop seconds off your time. Like, I don't know about all that, but it has definitely helped me be way more consistent. And I definitely feel like I am better at MX bikes because of the controller. So I think like, if you have an Elite that's broken or you're in the market for an Elite and you want to pick one up and you're already going to spend the $200, maybe consider the Turtle Beach Stealth Ultra. You know, it's pretty freaking good, but I will warn you, you do have to be very, very precise on your steering. At least that's what I found, because the left stick is extremely sensitive. That's why my friend didn't want it, is because he felt like it was too sensitive where he couldn't keep the bike straight. You know, if you can see down in, you know, on my controller overlay, I'm holding the stick forward most of the time, and that helps be really precise. I've always done that, but I don't know, it's just smooth, man. It feels like good. It feels very intuitive, like where, you know, when I'm turning, oh my gosh, that script is nasty. When I'm turning, you know, it feels like the amount that I'm turning my stick is how much I should be turning in the game. And, you know, you combine that with, you know, 100 direct lean, which I know a lot of people have been switching to recently. And it's just really precise, really consistent, and just all around a major W in my opinion. But yeah, so I'll leave a link down below. It is going to be an Amazon affiliate link. If you guys do want to pick it up, use that link because it does help me out a little bit. It helps me get a little bit of bread. Obviously, no pressure. Like I said, not a sponsored thing at all or anything like that. Just, I don't know. I found something cool, and I feel like it's kind of hard to innovate on controllers and make them feel different, you know, especially everyone's kind of just making a PS5 or an Xbox controller, and you know, that's kind of what I thought this was. Oh, one more thing, this is kind of important too, so sorry I kind of like ramped the video up and now I'm dropping one more thing. The triggers on the back, okay, they obviously have everything that you would expect from a high-end controller, the trigger stops and all that for COD and whatever, but I do know this is, I would say, my only, I don't know if I would say drawback, but it's something that it took me a little bit getting used to. The triggers on the back are not as linear as, say, just a regular Xbox Elite controller. There was something, those Xbox Elite controllers, I was really able to like do 10% throttle, 20% throttle. Like I was able to be very precise. I noticed on these, I had a lot harder time doing that. It's probably because these are, you know, this controller's, I'm sure, aimed at more of like the shooter genre, you know, the more popular genre, so they wanted to, you know, actuate very quickly. Now, to combat that, I run smooth now on my throttle, which I know a lot of people do anyway. You know, I know that I think Cam runs smooth on his throttle, and that seems to help a lot. I do find myself losing the rear end a little bit more than I used to, but the more days I've spent on this controller, I've definitely felt like, you know, that issue is going away, and smooth really helped with it. So just something to keep in mind. Same thing with my brakes. I was noticing that I was braking a lot more in corners than I really wanted to. You know, I was able to really drag the brakes on my old controller, and this one it was kind of like I was either like 50% or 100% or 0. Like it was really hard for me to do a little bit, so I run smooth on the brakes as well, and that seemed to help a bit. But anyway, oh, and I turned my gain down. Anyway, I hope you guys found this interesting or helpful. I'll try to put some footage up throughout the video of the controller itself so you guys can see it. It is really, really cool, and I like it. It's comfy. It's got some cool features. Oh, it comes with a Bluetooth dongle as well. Dongle's a funny word. It can link to your computer via Bluetooth or the dongle, and the dongle's like really, really good. It's like a wireless mouse where there's extremely, like, if any latency at all, and it has like a 30-hour battery life. I personally just run mine plugged in all the time, but you know, if you guys are wireless, I feel like that's kind of a W. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful for you. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace.